Aria had always lived behind stone walls, raised among silk gowns, polished manners, and strict expectations. She was a noblewoman by birth, but her heart had never felt at home in the world of rules and elegance. Her life looked perfect from the outside, yet inside she carried a quiet loneliness. Every smile she wore was practiced, every step measured. She longed for something real, something free, something her world would never allow. Far from the castle, Lina lived a life completely opposite to hers. A simple village girl with bare feet, sun-browned skin, and eyes full of softness. Her clothes were plain, her home was small, but her heart carried a warmth that felt richer than gold. She worked in the fields, gathered flowers, and helped anyone who needed a hand. There was a purity in her presence, gentle, bright, untouched by the cruelty of social ranks. Their worlds were never meant to meet. But fate, as always, had its own plans. Aria first saw Lina on a warm afternoon when she stepped out of her carriage near the village fields. Lina stood there with a basket of wildflowers, sunlight falling across her face, wind brushing through her hair. Aria stopped walking, stopped breathing, for a moment that felt suspended in time. Lina looked up, shyly smiled, and that small smile struck Aria deeper than she could understand. From that day, Aria found reasons, false reasons, to visit the village more often. She would walk through the fields pretending to observe the land, but her eyes always searched for Lina. And Lina, though shy, began waiting for her too. Their conversation started soft and simple, yet each moment brought them closer. They laughed, shared stories, exchanged flowers, and little by little, something tender began to bloom between them. Aria knew this bond was forbidden. Her family would never allow her to mix with a peasant girl, let alone feel something for her. But every time she stood beside Lina, she felt alive, seen, understood in a way she had never been before. And Lina, though afraid, felt her own heart opening in ways she could not hide. One day, heavy rain forced Aria to seek shelter, and Lina brought her into her tiny cottage. Aria was soaked and shivering, but the warmth of the small home wrapped around her. Lina gave her a shawl and gently warmed her trembling hands. Aria watched her, struck by how someone with so little could give so much comfort. For the first time in her life, Aria felt cared for, not because of her status, but because someone truly saw her. In that quiet room, with rain whispering against the roof, something unspoken passed between them. Lina took her hand, and Aria didn't pull away. Their hearts understood what their lips could not say. That night, they crossed a line neither of them could go back from. But love this pure rarely comes without fear. Word spread in the castle. Servants saw Aria visiting the village too often, gossip grew, and soon her family confronted her. They threatened to lock her in the estate, force her into marriage, erase every piece of freedom she had tasted. Aria cried, torn between fear and the love she could no longer deny. That night, under the full moon, Aria made her choice. She escaped. She ran from the castle, heart pounding, skirts clutched in her fists, and headed straight to Lina's cottage. Lina opened the door in worry, and Aria fell into her arms. "I can't live without you," she whispered, voice trembling but sure. "Come with me. Let's run." Lina hesitated only for a heartbeat, fear in her chest, hope in her eyes. Then she nodded. She took Aria's hand, and together they ran into the night, leaving behind everything that tried to keep them apart. They traveled far, through forests and fields, until they reached a distant village where no one knew their names or pasts. There, they built a small life, humble but peaceful. Aria traded her jewels for simple clothes, learning to cook, garden, and live freely for the first time. Lina worked the fields, and every evening they sat together outside their little home, watching the sunset hand in hand. Aria often said that she had finally learned what real life felt like. Lina would smile and answer, "You don't look like a noblewoman anymore. You look like someone who's finally alive." Their love did not conquer kingdoms or rewrite laws. It simply endured, quietly, stubbornly, beautifully. A love born from two different worlds that refused to let go. And years later, when people heard whispers of a noblewoman who ran away with a peasant girl, they didn't call it a scandal. They called it courage. Hey everyone, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it and it would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watch.